Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology Update for June 30th through July 7th, 2025. Well, the whole month of June, we were feeling the intense square between Jupiter and Saturn, but actually Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune. Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn and Neptune in the beginning degrees of Aries. Saturn and Neptune at the beginning degrees of Aries is about a reworking, a reimagining of the original dream. Saturn represents time, rules, reality, and Neptune, the imaginal, the unimaginable, the possible, the delusion, the dream. So we're sorting all this out, and it's just so epic that they're going to be retrograding back into the sign of Pisces. And so together they're kind of dancing this dance, and it feels like it's about a reworking of our original timeline, reclaiming the dream. We've been talking about this, that we can't get out of the Piscean age until we reclaim the miracles and the magic of the Piscean age. And so we're going to extract those and claim them back, because as Neptune and Saturn go back into Pisces, we're going to be having very harmonious transits, an air trine kite happening in August through October, and then October through the end and November, a grand water trine. So this is saying that this is the time that we need to harmonize from the changes that have just occurred, we might not even know about, right? From the Jupiter square Saturn and Neptune. And it's powerful because Jupiter represents the new information. Saturn's the old king, Jupiter's the new king. And so when we look at generational energies and energies around regimes and organizations and patterns, Jupiter and Saturn are our markers for that. Jupiter and Saturn come together every 20 years, and just this last time they came together in 2020, they began a 200 plus year cycle where their conjunctions every 20 years will be happening in air signs. So this indicates a new renaissance. So, but it's such a huge change is kind of the message of the astrology. Like, really, you're going to just go and infuse the original dream into our current reality? You know, like, how are you going to do that? Well, that's up to us, supernova souls. No big deal, right? We've been working on this project for a very long time, and it's powerful, even though this is really intense time for us, because we are being tested in our ability to have sovereign power over our power, sovereign autonomy. How can we graduate into the Aquarian age if we're going to continue to allow ourselves to be manipulated or able to be manipulated by outside forces? So what we've been going through is like a spiritual hazing. And I know you know what I'm talking about, supernova soul. So, but let's just talk through this story, because the astrology is here. These planets and stars are actually a part of us, are inside of us. And so when we talk to them, we're talking to ourselves, we're talking to Mother Earth, or they're also a part of Mother Earth's cosmology. And so we are gaining and supporting each other. The planet's supporting us, and we're supporting evolution by responding. So this is the powerful energy that we're in, because last week, so we had that Jupiter square Saturn, and the last couple times that those Jupiter and Saturn came into square, they were in mutable signs in Gemini. In Pisces and Gemini. So now they came together for their third and final square in cardinal signs. So this is just another clue and another marker that says it's a brand new start, because cardinal signs are the instigators, right? So the third and final generational, no, can't go, no way this anymore. It's like that energy happening in cardinal signs, says, now we turn the wheel. We're completely out of resonance with the truth of who we are. And that must reconcile. And doesn't it feel like we've gotten to this point? And this is the message from Mother too, that it must reconcile. It must come back into balance. We must right the wrongs, bring justice, be returned, claim back what's been stolen if we're going to get anywhere. And so what's really been stolen is our wealth, our energetic wealth. That's what we know. This is what we've gone through over the last years of this spiritual hazing, is like to know ourselves, right? And now you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's true. There's a bigger part of you that has a vast and powerful abilities, information, access to information, skills, gifts, love. It's interesting to think about what comes through, what we carry with us between incarnate into the next incarnation. You can't even take, Rudolf Steiner talked about this. It's like, you can't even take your own ideas. You don't get your own ideas. You have to relearn your own ideas. But what do you get to take? You get to take your talents and skills. We've seen these prodigy children sit down at the piano and just start playing, right? And so that's what's huge for supernova souls and our devotion and dedication to the arts and life as we step into this new renaissance. Very, very important. But you also take your love you gave. Even the smallest act of love. It's like building up a massive, massive spiritual commodity. That's who you are. A massive spiritual commodity. Once you can feel this right now, this is Jupiter in Cancer. It's like expanding into the mother energy, into nurturing, into like allowing ourselves to feel safe. And this is one of the energies that is coming through with this week, which a lot of times these messages come through and it's like, well, what does that even mean? Great, it's a message, but now I'm more confused. But Mother says something has been accomplished. And can you walk forward from here as a recipient, as a producer, as a co-creator of this accomplishment? Because what's happening right now is that Venus is approaching Uranus at the antagrees of Taurus. They come together on July 4th, Independence Day in the US. It's so poetic, and that's why you cannot make this up. None of them can stop the time. Right? This is the thing about studying astrology. Retrograde planets happen, right? The retrograde, it appears to go backwards, but everything is always moving. So we can see that control forces have used the energy of stagnancy, cutting us off from our own abundant life force, in order to control and thwart our forward motion, our evolution. That's the free energy. Perpetual motion is a free energy, creates energy, and it's a feminine form of electricity. So this, in a nutshell, is what we're talking about here, because humanity has been enslaved, but they don't even know that they're enslaved. And so this Independence Day union, great meetup between Venus, our feminine, representing our connection to our intuitive voice and our higher power as well, our ability to connect spiritually. And then Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, sitting at 29 degrees of Venus's home sign. Now, Venus is strong there, right? It's called exalted. And she just went through that to hell and back in that retrograde into Pisces, with Mercury. Luckily, Mercury was there with her. And so now this meetup with Uranus is she's feeling like a badass, right? She's like, you're not going to gaslight me out of my own power anymore, okay? Because Uranus represents the higher mind. It represents everything we're not allowed to just access automatically in our day-to-day life. So there's a control energy with Uranus. All the higher planets, the big, slower moving planets, have kind of a gatekeeper energy. And for Uranus, it's a gatekeeper to our higher knowing, the Akashic records, accessing wisdom and technology. And so Venus is like, guess what? From the place of the full expression of the garden at 29 degrees Taurus, I hereby claim and proclaim The rightful resources are returned to their source, which is mother and which is us, you know? So we have to examine the whole story, because if we're going to talk about Independence Day in the US, we have to talk about the American Revolution and how those revolutionaries felt those small amount that stood up to fight this battle were in love with America, the goddess Columbia, the bountiful cornucopia breadbasket, right? It was like the stories of the lands beyond the eastern mountains, and just on and on, fertile lands, And so this is what they felt, and it's actually a past life connection. The Native Americans are here defending Lamerica, all going back to this, because guess what? America isn't the new world, it's the old world that they wanted to take and erase our history. So Venus and Uranus meeting up at 29 degrees Taurus is like from a place of strength and wholeness and security at home. That now the feminine voice, the intuitive soul, the light being is welcome on earth and safe. And from that place, she says, look, what's mine is mine. And I'm not buying any other stories. So what seems to be accomplished is this knowing that we are abundant. But yet, what do we do with this information? How do we act? And so we have to look at this energy of the Declaration of Independence and the fight, the revolution, and what America has always stood for is freedom, right? But we have to ask, what does it really mean to be free? Because we're told we're free, but we're financial slaves to a system that continues to steal our money to do evil acts. And this has been going on, financial tyranny, for 100 years. So we are trying to break free of this, but we have to understand that the only way to control population is to create scarcity, which in that case, you have to create a disconnection with source, which is our Mother Earth. Every single indigenous culture based their whole society on reverence and gratitude for Mother Earth and what she brings if you live in a 3D manifest world. Would you not want to be worshipful and honoring of that provides your needs, resources? And we're so disconnected from this, and but it's a really powerful energy that we all have to go back to. Right. And Jupiter in Cancer is saying, okay, we're going to expand into the true nurturing quality of what it means to be human and start taking care of ourselves and each other and our earth and live in that place of reconnection, or we're going to perish. So we're going to do it. And here we are. So the energy of being free. So it's like we're basically living in an illusion of freedom while we have been not free at all. And it's starting to expose itself, these control forces, and through financial tyranny who have, we're starting to see the evidence and understand that this has been happening. But we have to understand that the abundance that we're talking about, SuperNova souls, when we're talking about Mother's Garden and who we are in the strength of our energy field because of the work we've done over past lives, that is the true abundance. They had to cut that off in order to control, And so how do we get true freedom? Actual true freedom must come with abundance on all levels. And this is the reconciliation. This is where Venus, come from the place of strength and support, goes to the treasure chest and says, you must hand over the key. Now, if Uranus is our higher knowledge that we haven't been able to access, and now we're just going to get the key to this, you can kind of feel the programming of fear that comes up, and this is what's been hiding our light under a bushel. The bushel is fear and over our own power. And then they take that's programming, and then use the fear of our own power against us to keep us from never claiming it back, you know? So Venus meeting Uranus is like we have overcome the fear of our own power because of the high level harassment and hazing that we've been going through and the ego death and all of it, right? And isn't it time to step into our inheritance? Because this is over lifetimes, and we stand with Mother Earth and say, it's her resources. If it's not in alignment with the garden, it either needs to come into alignment of the garden or get kicked off of the realm. Game over. Okay. Because for far too long through the Kali Yuga period, we as light worker beings were being harassed, attacked, and basically resisted at every turn, right? Constant resistance working through people who were controlled through like mass consciousness and groupthink to go against us. Everything, the whole gig of the reality we've been living in is resistance to you and who you are in your spiritual light. She says, but this is the turnaround. This is the flipping of the tables and the turning of the tides, is that it's going to go from resistance at every turn to reverence and respect. So can you handle that? Are you really over the fear of your own power that you can handle that people are going to be, instead of like rejecting and getting angry at you, like really wanting to come and work with you on your project, to learn from you, to just be around you? Are you worthy of that level of abundance? Because supernova souls have been living in a state of poverty. Most of us programming, see, this programming and targeting has happened over lifetimes, right? And so we've had karmic family situations that were just simply about making sure that we never felt worthy of our own light. So here we are, big bundles of love, the commodity you get to take with you. And then living in a lot of our childhoods in an emptiness, a lack, a complete scarcity. But maybe it's just about getting you to this place, and maybe all this hazing is just about getting you to your own power. Because I think it seems that she says you're going to get challenged in your power until you own it. And what does that mean? Being willing to represent and receive and feel worthy of the spiritual abundance, which also translates to physical abundance with the laws of the universe. Everything is going to be changing very quickly, and it's a huge adjustment. So that's what the whole rest of this year is about, and into 2026. And it's saying, like, we don't know what just happened with that square, but that definitive line marker, that thing that was accomplished, means that there's going to be radical changes, very quick, dramatic changes. And the whole next 6-8 months is about harmonizing to these changes, because they're so beyond what we can imagine, different from the way we've been living. It's exciting and a little bit freaky, especially since we know that we're supposed to be on the cutting edge of like leading humanity in this spiritual ascension, but we have no clue who we are or what we're doing. And this is the picture she shows me. She's like, the bigger you are, supernova soul, the less of you that you've been able to hold on to in everyday life, right? You're operating on a fraction, like not enough cylinders, And what happens when you bring those pieces of your soul back home, when you do feel completely safe and supported and with your people to land here as your bigger self? What if you are just a sliver of who you really are? And then how are we supposed to navigate and decide and figure out how to move forward when we have no idea? So it's just a crazy place to be, this disillusion of everything we thought that we knew to be true. And this is going to be for all of humanity. We're going to be having to face a lot of deep, dark secrets and lies. And this is the energy of Black Moon Lilith being activated this whole month we're entering into a period of time. But back to, before I get to that, sorry, try to stay on track here. Venus and Uranus meeting up, and Venus is saying, give me back the keys to the garden because I know they're mine, right? So for us to be free, we know, supernova souls, we've got to break free from any outside influence on our mind, on our biology, on our energetic field, right? And we're like gaining our strength in this. But this whole story says that we are only free when we're in abundance, that true freedom is abundant. And so we claim our freedom, supernova souls, in our mind and our psyche and in our evolutionary permission to evolve spiritually. We claim that by claiming our energetic abundance, like walking in our abundance. So this is a whole different way of being and understanding the power of our chemistry in our body, that we are the raw materials, and that as we breathe with consciousness, I call it the breath of life. You know, you're breathing with mother, you're fortifying your electromagnetic field, but you're also supporting the strength of the electromagnetic field of Earth. It's amazing what you're doing, supernova. And isn't it time to walk in this amazement? What if you could step outside of yourself and see yourself like another supernova soul would see you? This is why they don't want us to meet, right? And what if you had this like awe and wonder and amazement at the light, at the all your experiences and how you've gone through hell and back, but you can't even tell because you've healed and you are a walking healing wand that can bring spiritual healing to anyone around you. And this is what it means to walk in Mother's Garden. This is what it means to own our abundance, and we are free. So that's the energy of Venus and Uranus. Venus is saying, I'm going to claim my whole abundance, right? So we want the truth, the scrolls uncovered. We want the divine feminine to be understood and welcomed in our world again, you know, to listen to that voice. This is one of the things that's coming forward, supernova souls. We've been so, you know, when we're talking about the stagnancy and the energy of scarcity, and that it's only in stagnancy and scarcity that you can control people, because that's, you know, then they're dependent. And so this stagnancy energy is, and this message that, you know, it's like this kind of Groundhog Day feeling of like repeating the patterns and like never being able to get anywhere. But we look at the astrology and it's like, no, it's all moving and it's all changing, it's all growing. And when a planet goes through a sign and has an experience, it's not the same planet anymore, right? We are not in tune and in touch. We have not been receiving the blessings that we can as the souls that we are. And so this stepping into our own abundance is so important right now. And that's what Venus is saying. Now, Venus then is going to move over into the sign of Gemini on July 5th. And so it's very powerful, like fireworks. Venus showdown with Uranus. Like, she's like, I can handle my higher power. And I've overcome the trauma. You know, this is kind of the energy that we've been so traumatized, like the mind control, which we've all been under as a society, but all mind control is trauma-based. So the mind control is designed to keep us from activating our higher intuitive gifts so that we can never break free and never be abundant, you know. And so when we get close to, we have to understand that a lot of the last few years for a lot of supernova souls has been about working this out of encountering the energies of unresolved trauma because of the activation, you know, of your higher mind. And so we've had to do this dance and like healing and stepping down and rising up and getting comfortable and overcoming this level of targeting that's only about one thing, right? And she says, you'll be challenged until you own it. And so if everything that's been resisting us is now supporting us, that's a huge breakthrough of the energies of light. Doesn't it feel like a turning, just that, you know, like the fulcrum point, like the tipping point? And I guess that's really powerful. But Venus moving over into Gemini, and then Uranus moving over on the 8th of July. And so Venus is like, come on, Uranus, let's go. We're going to go. And it's into Gemini, the early degrees of Gemini, which is expression and air. It's that new Renaissance energy. So that's more evidence that we're moving into the new Renaissance. Now, just like Saturn and Neptune this year, going back into Pisces, Uranus will go back into Taurus in November through March. And then in March of 2026, enter Gemini. So that is like the gateway portal into the new Renaissance. So we are moving into the energies of that, because the new Renaissance energy says we have to put all the pieces back together. And that's the pieces of ourselves. And so a lot of what we need to do and how we need to do our work in our next chapter is through self-expression, and creative self-expression is so important. And this is how the song and the voice of the mother is heard again on the waters, to recreate the original dream, right? So our creative energy is so, so key. And it's powerful because it's like Uranus is going back into the end of Taurus, being like, are you sure you deserve the expression of your creative energy? And so much is getting reconciled in these next 6-8 months, a complete adjustment from the old to the new. And so as Venus comes into Gemini, Venus will come into a trine with Pluto, and Pluto is at 3 degrees Aquarius, and Pluto will be moving to 2 degrees on the 8th of July. And so right when Pluto is going from 3 to 2, and Pluto's been at 3 for the last couple of months, right? 3 months maybe, and so it's a big move, retrograding from 3 to 2. And at the same day, on the 7th and 8th, Venus is going from 2 to 3. And so it's like this, bam, because trines are harmonizing. So we're harmonizing the feminine voice in the world again, according to the ancient mysteries, right? It's not just the listening to our emotions and stuff, right? Like we're talking ancient mysteries that have been buried. That's what we're expressing in the world. And so in trine to Pluto, and Pluto in retrograde going back to 2 degrees is like, how do we overcome everything, whatever's in the way? What needs to be broken down for us to access the creation energy that is required to move into the Aquarian age? To feel worthy, to know we can contain it, to know that we're not going to leak it out, to know that we can handle that power. So that's Pluto's everything. And then Pluto to 2 degrees is about collaboration. Coming into this energy that we keep getting, 222, like 2 or more. Is this the one key factor? 2 or more? Like we've got to do our energy work with another person. Like we've done so much. You on your own is so powerful, but so that says that we access back our creation energy by overcoming our fear of collaboration, the power of us together, right? Maybe that's really the fear that's been holding us back. Not so much of our own power, but coming together with someone else powerful. But this is what's called for, and it's saying that this is harmonized. The voice of the mysteries of the divine feminine are heard again in the land when we begin to collaborate in order to take back our permission to access and use creative power. So that's really powerful. And, it's just after Mercury has this opposition with Pluto. So Mercury, what we're feeling right now is that Mercury just moved into the sign of Leo, and on the 27th of June. And that means it's going to start a retrograde. So we're feeling this kind of like this big square and this big intensity, but now it's like, wait, a deflation, a slowing down. But remember, nothing ever stops. It's always continually moving. And so to get into that flow and alignment that can allow us to receive the blessing of the support, of the respect, and the reverence rather than resistance to the work we're here to do. in this big turnaround moment. So Mercury goes into retrograde shadow, went into on June 30th, and on that day comes into this opposition with Pluto. So Mercury is moving into Leo, is starting in retrograde, especially because we've got Saturn turning retrograde, or Neptune turning retrograde on July 5th, and Saturn turning retrograde on July 13th. So it's not just the Mercury retrograde, it's like Mercury in retrograde shadow, Neptune retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and then Mercury will turn retrograde on the 18th. So we're kind of slowing down into a recapitulation phase to kind of figure out what to do after that big explosion of change that we haven't seen evidence of, but it's there. Something was accomplished. So but it's kind of this different energy, right? Like now we got to go within a little bit. We got to figure out, and let's talk about this Mercury retrograde. But Mercury retrograde in that opposition with Pluto is so beautiful because Venus is going to be coming into trine with Pluto. So Mercury opposite Pluto is the showdown where Mercury is in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. And so Mercury will be retrograding, but not all the way back to Pluto. This will be the only exact opposition. Pluto, Mercury will retrograde back to 4 degrees of Leo, and Pluto will be at that point 2 degrees of Aquarius. And so they'll be 2 degrees apart, another 2, right? So right now they're in exact conjunction, and then, exact opposition. And then Mercury will do his retrograde and then retrograde back to this point, and they'll be 2 degrees apart. Now that will be from the 8th to the 14th of July. And so that's really powerful. I'm sorry, that's August. Must be August 8th through 14th. Anyway, so this energy of Pluto and how we can overcome our fear and take back our creative power only through collaboration, and it kind of speaks to the forbidden love that was a part of the framing of a lot of the catastrophes. Framing us and blaming us for the Atlantean catastrophes happened through romantic love. And so that collaboration thing was broken. The power of coming together with a balancing of opposites. And we have this within ourselves. And we've all been working on the supernova souls, our masculine and feminine polarity within, and coming into that wholeness and balance between our masculine and feminine. And then we need to come bring that wholeness into a union. And we're literally power generators, when we come together in that way. So this is what is being called for us, and what Venus is saying, yep, we're going to do it, and trine Pluto. So, but Mercury, this opposition of Mercury and Pluto right at the beginning of this retrograde, it tells us what Mercury retrograde is about, right? It's like, is this claiming back of our access to creation energy to be able to co-create and to shine our light, right? To be the leaders that we are. So this Mercury retrograde is really hearkening back and triggering in the next chapter of what happened with the Mars retrograde. The Mars retrograde was at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. And remember, it was in Cancer, Leo, Cancer. And so Mars made it to 6 degrees of Leo before turning retrograde. And it's powerful that Mercury will retrograde to 4 degrees. And so there's an overlap of 2 degrees, another 2. And so this message keeps coming through. And so that says that this Mercury retrograde is the next chapter and an overlap with the Mars retrograde, which was an initiation into our spiritual light, right? A deep initiation into understanding that who we are and that we are here to shine. And then Mercury is going to take us into the next chapter of coming forward with the expression of who we are as visionary leaders, supernova souls. So this Mercury retrograde is really, really important, and getting oriented into coming more public, like out from under the bushel, right? of the shame and the fear programming that's kept us from showing the world who we really are. And so that Mercury retrograde is powerful. It turns retrograde at 15 degrees on the 18th of July, and then will turn direct on August 11th. And so that's when it will be in the 2 degrees from Pluto opposition. And Mercury won't make it back that far. So it's kind of like Mercury's, okay, I think I got it now. I think I'm ready to run with it. I think I understand what has really been in the way of us turning on our light. And so that's powerful. So let's talk about the main transit of this Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde, like I said, turns direct on August 11th and will come out of shadow on August 25th. So that's kind of this next chapter of kind of 2 months of the retrograde, Mercury retrograde energy, reassessing, realigning the next chapter of our initiation in like, are you going to shine your light, or are you going to just shrivel up? We're kind of running out of options. So Mercury, remember when Mars had this opposition with Pluto, it was also triggering the Pluto square Black Moon Lilith this in the early months of this year. And so this is that was a long-held 3-month-long square between Pluto and Black Moon Lilith, where Pluto is like, what's going to take to move into the Aquarian age, and Black Moon Lilith is like, deep dark secrets are keeping us, So now we have another chapter of this as well, because Mars will make, Mars starts out with an opposition with Pluto and then won't make it back, to 2 degrees of an opposition. And then, but 3 full squares with Black Moon Lilith. So it's saying, okay, we're figuring out the Pluto thing, but the Black Moon Lilith piece, we got to get this sorted. And so on the 6th and 7th of July, and then again on the 25th and 26th of July, Mercury will be in that exact square with Black Moon Lilith. And that means that the whole month of July, we're feeling that square because they stay close, So from the 3rd to the 31st of July, we're feeling Mercury square Black Moon Lilith. And it's just kind of the name of the game. It's kind of what we're doing. And Black Moon Lilith is in Scorpio. Black Moon Lilith is our deepest, darkest secrets, often connected to the feminine. And in Scorpio, we're talking about this creation energy. It's been demonized. And yet it is the energy of ascension, the energy of healing. It's also sexual energy, but it's been so distorted and so made wrong and evil just to keep us, and so how can we go back to a full and innocent acceptance, receiving, and sharing of our creation energy to co-create our world, to purify? So what's happening in this next 6 to 8 months of astrology is a purification process, she's shown me, because it's like a grand air trine kite lifting up, and then the water trine. And the water trine is like the vortex of energy purification, because the water trine involves Black Moon Lilith. And so it's like a purification, and that's so cool. Like water, when it's moved in certain ways, it will structure back to its original form and purify itself. So we come back to the stagnancy thing again, that the only way that we have been able to been kept enslaved or from our evolution is from stagnancy. And so we're beginning to move the energy again. But when you go to access creation energy after you haven't, you're going to find shame. You're going to feel bad about it. It's going to seem wrong and bad. It's going to seem dangerous and scary. It's going to trigger trauma, cellular trauma from head traumas. Most supernova souls have experienced head traumas. It's a very deliberate way to, interfere with our ability, but all is being healed and purified by the power of the force of the creative energies coming back. That means you get to rest now, because you had to try to move the energies all the time to try to get anything to happen. And this has been the great wrong that's been done, how they've kept us in the stagnancy and disconnected from the planetary bodies and from our wisdom and guidance, is this story, this argument The supernova soul is often the one throughout time that comes with the intuitive voice, listening to the feminine, and the feminine is connected within us, masculine, feminine within, but the feminine within us is connected to Mother Earth. It's connected to the right, good, and true. It's connected to the sentient experience. Now, from that place of connection, the feminine or a man accessing his intuitive abilities could see a vision of what it wants to be. But when we brought this vision, we get the message again and again. It's like, don't you dare try to change anything, right? All corruption and stealing of our money and all that could only happen continually because the things were allowed to remain the same when there needed to be a revolution. So we are the revolution, and we're just this energy of people around us when we bring this picture and they say, well, what's wrong with you that you find fault in everything? And it's like, no, I see a different way. And like, no, this is just the way it is. What's your problem? Why can't you be happy with it? And it's like, no, that's not what's going on. I can see a different way, the way it wants to be. And this is the blueprint, the mother's original dream, what Mother Earth wants to become. And we can have this prayer and this love because this is what the structured water does in our body, when we can receive those molecules so much easier when it's structured and our body can receive it. And the message is to remove the waste, the mandate, remove the wastes, and bring in health and the original picture of what it wants to be. To just give space and room and oxygen for ourselves and our earth, if our body's her body, to be what it wants to be. And when we do our conscious breath of life with the mother energy, that's what we're doing. We're inviting ourselves to just be in their original dream, and our life and the people around us and our where we live and our energy field and Mother Earth's energy field, what it really wants to be. And this is so powerful if we look at it from a point of education. The Waldorf education system is based on the clairvoyant tenets that came through Rudolf Steiner. And the whole thing with the education system is to foster, instead of seeing like we need to indoctrinate and put information we know into the child, but it's about bringing out what's within the child, honoring the whole spirit, soul experience and past life experiences, right? And the whole being. What a different way. And it's almost like we need this whole re-education system, a new education system for sure, but we need to be re-educated as well. And I think that's part of the energy of the Black Moon Lilith squares, because if Black Moon Lilith are deepest, darkest secrets, and it has to do with feminine energy, then it has to do with Scorpio creation energy. It's the feminine ability to access creation energy through intuition, through higher power, and deep, dark secrets around that. So Mercury is in Leo in this square, and Mercury saying, go retrograde in Leo, saying, what's the next part of the chapter? Hey, what's in the way here? Mars kind of took it personally, and he had to go through his whole wounded warrior thing, right? Mercury's more analytical, and Mercury's like, what's going on? Why can't we just step into our light? Mars just went and repledged his allegiance to the mother. Like, why can't we step forth as who we are, in our true illumination of the mind? And so that has to do with this Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio. But it's so powerful that Black Moon Lilith is also in trine to Jupiter. Already this month, we're feeling it. So Black Moon Lilith, the uncomfortable, deep, dark secrets none of us want to face. Nobody wants to face this, the truths. Nobody wants it to be true, these dark things. And yet, how can we just put it under the rug and go on? Because we have to have a full reconciliation. So, but Jupiter expanding into Cancer, saying we can nurture ourselves through this. Like this mother is here. We're reconnected. We can nurture, just stick with her, and we're going to be all right through this transition. And we can face the lies. We can face the darkness because it's the only way we're going to set our creation energy, our divine feminine goddess, free from the chains of the dungeon. So we can all begin to work with this energy again, safely, securely, supported, in love, for the good of all. It's a glorious chapter that lies ahead, and it's the only way it can go. And so we have to walk in this. We have to own our energetic abundance, and we're claiming freedom for Earth. So the first square with Black Moon Lilith is the 6th and 7th, and that'll be right after the Venus-Uranus conjunction. Now, Taurus can represent the physical body, and so Venus, it has a really high vibrational energy. It was discovered at the time of electricity, the same time as electricity, so it's like really can activate your nervous system. And they're at the end degrees of Taurus, so it's kind of an upgrade, right? We're getting an upgrade in our nervous system, so be really gentle and nice to, radical self-care, because it's your energy body, and it reflects in your physical body, but it's your energy body that needs to be tended to. And that's all in that course. Owning your energetic field is absolutely most important information for supernova souls right now. So there's information to join that, listen to those classes in the information box below. Really, really important work for supernova souls right now. The key to everything, the key to our kingdom is owning our energetic field. That is walking in our abundance. So do that work if you can. And so we've got the very much activating Venus being like, I'm going to go to the throne and take back my throne from the, and, but then when Venus and Uranus move into Gemini, it is going to be really activating. Gemini has like a wiry kind of, ruled by Mercury. And so those energies together is like really activating to the nervous system. So, now then Venus, right after that conjunction with Uranus and moving into Gemini, coming into that trine with Pluto, saying it's harmonized. Now, there's another trine happening as Uranus moves into Gemini, trining up with Pluto. And that's one of the main air trine parts of the air trine kite. And so one by one, Mars and then Venus and the Sun will be moving through to make that kite shape between August and October. And so the top of the kite is that Neptune and Saturn dancing around, both going Pisces, Aries, and so it's like we are reworking. The top of the kite is where we're headed, and that's like about reworking the dream. And basically taking that original dream, the original blueprint we carry in our being. We got so far away from it, but nobody can take it from us. So we have that connection to the Akashic records and to Mother, and she has the codes. And so we're taking that original blueprint dream and we're like integrating it into present time. It's like a very powerful surgical situation, intense, like just call your psychic surgeons, because we're knitting and reknitting and unknitting the fabric of time in a good way, right? And then how much of the day can you spend in the energy of what it is you want to create? Not the picture so much, the energy, right? It feels like this Mother's Garden. It's very awesome. The optimal ideal, Mother's Garden, this optimal weather. We can pray and breathe this breath of life with Mother and talk to the primary waters that are in the earth. They don't want us to know about the abundance that's been cut off. And we talk to these waters and they can come in and speak to us and rise to the surface and interact with the atmospheric system, water system, and harmonize the weather. It's so beautiful and so amazing. And so the optimal weather, we don't want to say, well, we want this exact weather and we're going to go try to change Mother Earth. It's like, no, we're with her and we enjoy the optimal weather and her connection. Our connection to her invites, because she cares for us. We're her children. And this is what the main thing they just didn't want us to know. We had to not know that in order to go through this whole debacle. And so if we know that, we're there. And this is kind of the energy of supernova souls finding themselves here in this place of rededication to what really matters. And life, as far as understanding that we can move forward and fully and completely with our creation, co-creative forces if we are in alignment with her. and coming to this place and seeing that the whole world has to come back here. We have got to come back to that reverence of the mother. And so got to come back into reverence and respect for you as her representative doing the mother's work. It's like I was thinking of the phrase like doing it justice, doing something justice, and then kind of doing mother justice, doing her justice, right? By showing up and communicating with her and loving her and just being present with what she wants to say in nature and the waters and the experience of the consciousness. So when we are meeting her there in that place, then we know we're in alignment and we can step forward with really shining our light and really being the light of the world that represents Mother's Garden. And there's no more battle, because Mother's Garden is like holding in your field a picture of health, right? It's what it wants to be, a picture of health. And that's where the forces now are here to support what it wants to be, not what some evil forces wanted to try to make it into, And so it's just such a powerful time for supernova souls to be in the energy of what you want to create as much as possible, and to just exercise and rest in that full alignment. That and this is the thing that she's saying, it requires a surrender, and it's not a very comfortable place for supernova souls, because we have surrendered to these entities that have been messing with us for lifetimes, and we're done. We're just like, but then mom says, surrender to me. And it feels really uncomfortable and scary. But if the power of her life force returning is this naturally purifying vortex, then we can rest. We can rest there and feel safe there. She takes care of us. And so when we do that prayer for optimal weather and talk to the waters, we're inviting optimal weather in our body, right? Oxygenation and the healing, and just this is where everything that's been happening to us is pushing us into understanding our power of regeneration. These are really the techniques we're talking about with the higher knowledge and wisdom. Probably the most, threatening of our higher skills to the control forces is our power of regeneration. So maybe we've arrived. Something's been accomplished, and we can rest in Mother's natural purification, and it can be harmonized. The astrology says it's harmonized. Yeah, so we're turning it upside down, but it's harmonized. The forces are working with the good now, and we have to own this and be ready to receive it. So that Mercury retrograde from 15 degrees of Leo and back to 4 degrees is so powerful, and 3 squares with Black Moon Lilith, saying we've got to overcome the shame programming, the fear programming, the trauma programming, and feel like celebrate our abundance, not apologize for it. We've been programmed to apologize for it, right? In that same energy of like, well, I could see a different way. There's like, what's wrong with you? It's fine the way it is. It's just how it has to be, And so we've been pushed under that bushel again and again, invalidated, zero support, gaslit out of our dreams. And yet, supernova, you never let go of the dream. And thank you so much. And now it's time for these dreams to bloom, because these dreams are what we've worked on in past lives. Again and again, supernova souls have come together and planted seeds for this time. And now we're talking to the primary waters of the earth as her consciousness, coming back into this intimate connection. Jupiter in Cancer just calling us home into her heart. Like, it is the only thing that matters, is to feel connected to Mother Earth. And everything is handled, And so from that place, everything's handled in our lives as well. And that original blueprint is blooming. And so the primary waters perhaps coming up and responding to our reverence and request and watering the seeds of what we've planted in these past lives that we can't even see. We can't even see ourselves, you know, but it's time for them to bloom. So sit back and watch. Let the purification happen. Let the magic unfold. Do your own work of unweaving and reweaving reality, right? It's almost like we're taking apart the old tartan pattern of the flannel, woven flannel that's so kind of stained with blood, you know, from all the battles. And we're weaving back in the sparkles of the light of the mother and spiritual connection. So thanks for being a weaver of light, and you're just powerful, powerful, beautiful. If you could see the spiritual wealth that you have, and then this indication that now it's time to walk in this, to feel fully worthy and celebrate the abundance, not shy away, be like, oh, I don't know, you know how supernovas, they're not that great at receiving. Kind of like, oh, no, it's okay. You know, it's like in compliments or gifts or whatever. And so how are we going to take back our massive abundant treasures that are a gift for the world? You know, and that's been the time of Uranus and Taurus. And so it's coming to the end of the time. And Venus is like, did you get it? Do you feel worthy now? And then Uranus going back into Taurus for November through March is going to be just like Saturn and Neptune going back to Pisces, reclaiming the magic of the dream, right? So reclaiming the abundance of the garden, and knowing it's ours, right? Like it's like Uranus kind of had to make it into Gemini, get a different perspective, and be like, oh, I got to go back and get the treasure. I was fighting for the treasure the whole time, but the treasure is this energetic wealth. And so we walk in our abundance and we keep showing up as best we can in this crazy reality, that everything is showing us again and again. It's a movie, it's a script, it's a matrix, it's a simulation. And so can we choose the optimal weather of a connection with Mother's garden, Mother energy, expand into this nurturing love that we represent? And so there's a very definitive energy coming around that after we have the Mercury square up with Black Moon Lilith, then we're going to move into the energy of the Capricorn full moon. And that is on Thursday, July 10th. And that's also when we're going to be feeling, you know, Neptune turning retrograde on the 5th, Saturn turning retrograde on the 13th. So it's like right in the middle of these two big planets that are about reworking our reality, you know, hold back the reins, because if we move forward now, it's just going to get all knotted up into the old crap and it's stained with blood and we got to clean it up and unwind it so we can remake the fabric in a better way. Ooh, it's intense. And so, but those energies of retrograde happening and this on the 10th, right in the middle there, the Capricorn full moon. So the Capricorn full moon on the heels of Venus and Uranus conjunction is talking about how the steps we need to take to claim back our authority spiritually, our spiritual autonomy and authority. And so that Capricorn full moon, Thursday, July 10th, the activation will also be Thursday, July 10th, and at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And that Capricorn full moon happens at 18 degrees of Capricorn, 50 minutes. And so it's the sun will be coming into a square with Chiron after that full moon, not till the 20th, but we start to feel it kind of after that full moon. So that's kind of the energy of that. So we'll see you there, hopefully, for that Capricorn full moon activation. And thank you so much for your support and being with us. This is such a beautiful and amazing time. We're having a pause with these retrograde energies, just like integration time, reworking, you know, and let that integration time validate the big changes that just happen that we haven't yet seen in our lives, but are inevitably coming, that have to do with us owning our own abundance and claiming freedom for the earth. You are a rock star, Supernova. I love you so much. I cannot wait to connect in person in these collaborations and this coming back together and sharing our power with Mother Earth at these vortex locations for this natural and beautiful harmonized purification. It sounds beautiful, and I'm so glad we made it. Keep living and breathing that truth. The war at this point is a psychological war. And so know that there are forces that are trying to trigger you into a low vibrational emotional state. And it's okay to feel what you feel, right? We don't want to suppress anymore. But then can you bring it back to Mother? Can she harmonize all? Because that's when we find her, is when we're beaten down on the ground. And then she holds us and we go, oh. And so we can't move forward without that shield of protection. Mars retrograde gave us the shield of protection going back into Cancer. And now Mercury retrograde in Leo is saying, how can we turn the shield into our own light? How can we use it as the lamp, the lampshade for our lamp, the support to come forward and really show the world who we are, because we got to. And it's happening regardless. We can't do anything about it. But so maybe this retrograde, Mercury retrograde, is a gift. It's like the next 2 months of just like getting a chance to adjust into our own abundance. So we can step into that. And the absolute freeing of planet Earth, definitely corresponding nicely. Energies around that coming through, claiming that true freedom with the Capricorn full moon. So I hope to see you there on that activation. Thank you so much for your support. I'm offering a limited number of individual sessions, intuitive astrology readings, intuitive healing sessions, very, very powerful work. And so there's a link in the information box below if you might want to book a session. Also, if you have thought about giving a donation, now would be a wonderful time to support this work and support the ad-free space. And thank you so much for being here and just entertaining these concepts and being on the team, SuperNova team. That is the greatest gift that you can give. But there's also a link to donate if you would like to. Also, the Owning Your Energetic Field course and soon to be released Goddess Activation 8-session, 8-pillar series to activate that juicy divine feminine in all of us. So these are ways that you can support and be a part of the movement and support the energies physically, spiritually, and with your intention. So thank you so much. I so appreciate you and love you so much. And I hope you can feel this incredible power of support coming back into our life, the energy of movement and flow. And so here we go. And it's time to kind of like, it's almost like we had to have the energy and flow come back before we could bounce back together into our collaborative pods. We needed some coherence and structuring, and that's what we've been working on. And thank God you're here. So just hang in there, because there's a little bit of it ups and downs, and just know that when you're in that down place, it's artificially contrived. It's from the past. You're releasing and choosing and claiming your own chemistry and body and experience, and that it won't last long because it's such a dynamic time. So just ride the waves of this experience. And so thank you so much. I look forward to connecting with you soon, next week, for that Capricorn full moon activation or the next update. Thank you so much for being here. I love you so much, Supernova Souls. See you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.